this is a tough time of the day, right? Like everybody's kind of down, they're restless, they want to get out. So, we won't run too long, don't worry. So I want to talk to you about building what I call your ideal business. So let me give you a little bit of my background because I think it'll give you some context here. So I started out as a college baseball coach, college strength coach, and if you know anything about working at like a university, it's a great way to be poor. So I started doing some personal training on the side, opened up personal training business, followed by a health club where A.J. Roberts was actually my manager. Yeah, how about that, right? So I got to see the early stages of A.J. selling, right? So, and then over time, things just started to grow. Got into coaching, consulting. To date, I have started 24 different businesses in the fitness industry, from certification organizations to equipment companies to dropship nutrition companies to 2 franchises totaling over 250 locations. It's kind of that common, more clients, more businesses, grow. And, and it was good. I mean, had a lot of success, but over time, it just kind of got to be like, okay, well, what's next? You'd set this goal and be like, okay, I want to be in, Entrepreneurs Franchise 500. And you get there and like, is that it? And it kind of just hit me. We had gotten to the point where business was really kind of booming. And lots of employees, lots of locations, lots of stuff. And it had gotten such that I was basically kind of Mr. Outside. I was the front guy for all the different brands. Had a business partner who basically had stepped into a role of being like the organizational leader inside. And I look up, and the reason I actually chose this picture is because that was like the week of Thanksgiving 2013. So on Thanksgiving Day 2013, we were in Disney World, and I am at 7:30 in the morning in the Carolwood room at the Wilderness Lodge on a video, like a web conference, on Thanksgiving morning with my business partner and our leadership team. And it's like, what the hell am I doing here? Seriously, it's like, okay, I've built this success that I'm not enjoying at all, right? And I'm like, why am I on a conference call on a day where hardly anybody's working? I'm already on vacation on this day. And, you find ways to rationalize this stuff. Oh, it's for my family, and they're still in bed, and it's cool, or whatever else. But, I had this pit in my stomach, and I'm thinking, seriously, what am I doing in this situation? Because guess what? I built this. I'm the one who built this, and this is where I'm at. And so that's where this whole concept of rethinking what business success looked like. And I'll be the first to admit, I struggled with it, right? I struggled with it for about a year because, I was the first guy in my family who went to college. I was, my dad owns a small auto repair business. So I grew up, sweeping floors and turning wrenches. That was, my summer job, doing brakes on people's cars and changing mufflers. And it's like, really? This is, I'm complaining about having to do a conference call, and I'm making more money than I would have probably ever hoped to make. I'm getting a lot of notoriety. I'm in magazines and all this stuff. And it's like, I have something to complain about. He's turning wrenches, beating his knuckles up every day. So it was a tough thing for me to come to grips with, but finally I was like, you know what? We as business owners, we work hard. We take a lot of responsibility. We take a lot of risk. And frankly, we're willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. Right? I mean, I worked at a state university for 8 years. And, I mean, they get to show up at 9, leave at 4:30, probably working 20% of the time between 9 and 4:30. They get paid vacations, paid sick days, they get 401k, they get a 3% yearly pay increase. Like, I feel like we should expect more because we're taking on more burden, more responsibility. And so I look back and I'm like, okay, well, I built this, so I'm capable of building the business that I want to build, right? I know I've been building businesses for a decade. I know I can do this. So what does success actually look like? So what it was to me was a business that allows you to have the impact you want to have. And for each of us, we get to define that differently, right? You may want to do nutrition coaching. You may want to do online coaching. You may want to work with groups, sports performance training. You pick. I want to make the income that I feel like I deserve. That's a fair exchange of value for the value I am providing to the marketplace. And I want it to be lifestyle friendly because frankly, I have no interest in working really hard and not being able to enjoy my life because of it. So it's like, okay, what's that look like for me? What does that business look like? And I got really clear about it. And so about a year after, almost to the day, about a year after the Thanksgiving kind of episode for me, I initiated the sale of a dozen different businesses that I was a co-owner of. Things that, they were like my baby, right? Like I founded these things. I was the face of these businesses. There were people in this room who were franchisees of mine that I had signed up because I sold all of the franchises personally. And so there was a pretty strong emotional attachment to that. But finally I just said, you know what? I need to go do this. I need to move forward because I said, this isn't my ideal business. If I'm going to put on all this time and I'm going to do all this work, I'm going to get the outcome I want from it. And that's what I'm here today to talk to you about, is how to do the same thing, right? Because to me, what the ideal business is, this is not like, people use the term lifestyle business or whatever else, and I feel like it's not a bad term, it has this stigma that you don't actually work, right? You lay on a sandy beach somewhere with a drink with an umbrella in it, and you've got a laptop out, and if you do an Amazon search, all the Kindle books that say lifestyle business, that's what the cover looks like. And for me, ideal business is basically business on your terms. That's it. It can be a physical location. It can be online coaching. It can be pretty much anything. And frankly, everybody that has spoken to you here today has some variation of it for themselves. And they're all different. And that's fine. But these are like my criteria. Independent means you choose. That's it, right? Like somebody else isn't making the rules. Distinctive means it kind of stands out from the crowd. Enjoyable, well, why in the world would you do this if you weren't enjoying it? Because it is a lot of time, a lot of work. Authentic means, it's yours. So there's nothing worse than somebody trying to be an imitation of somebody else. Better to be the best version of you. And lucrative. And this isn't charity, right? Like you're doing this for a reason. So you need to define what that is. So you got to understand what the goal is, what success looks like for you? So for me, my goal was pretty simple. I wanted to be able to work with the clients I wanted to work with. And that means people who were driven, people who were fun for me to work with, people who were interested in building their ideal business. They weren't like shiny object people saying, oh, teach me this marketing tactic or do this. That's not exciting to me. It's not interesting to me. It doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's a bad fit. I wanted to collaborate or partner with people that I had a good time doing that with, right? I wanted to build a business where I could kind of work on my terms, work from home. To give you kind of some context, so I coached both my son's baseball teams this year, which is a lot, right? One's 15, turned 15 a couple weeks ago. One of them will be 6 a week from today. And from the end of March until the middle of July, I probably worked in my business max 15 hours a week. Because that's what I wanted, right? Because when the little guy turns 6 a week from today, I don't get 5 again. So that's where I wanted to invest my time. And I was okay with the fact that maybe I wasn't generating as much business during that time frame. My goals, my rules. But I also wanted to make sure that I built a business that not only allowed me to meet all my financial needs now, but allowed me to, have some security for the future. And I know that John's going to talk about a lot of the financial side of this tomorrow, so I'm not going too far into that because he's way better at that than I'll ever be. But for me, I didn't really want to decide one or the other. Like, hey, I'm going to scrimp and save today so I can do something later on. But I didn't want the stuff that I wanted to do today, the lifestyle I wanted to live, the experiences I wanted to have, to deter me from doing things down the line. And, business, in short, business had to be fun. So those are my goals, but you need to figure out what your goals are, right? Like what you want your business to be, because my guess is that you haven't thought about it as much as you should. If you're like most business owners, you get up and you're like, okay, here's what I have to do today. I need to train these clients today. I need to return these emails today. And you're very reactive instead of saying, you know what, this is where I'm trying to go. This is the destination I'm trying to reach. And it's a moving target. I just had a conversation with a lady in the hall, and her ideal business is very different now than it would have been 3 years ago. And for you, that's probably the same. For me, I know it's been the same, right? What success looks like to me, even a year ago, it is kind of evolved. So it's a moving target, but you at least have to know where we're trying to go, right? It's very much like GPS. Now, you can change the destination, it's going to reroute you, but no destination, we're not going anywhere. We're just staying right where we are, okay? And then, if you don't have it, here's the problem. If you don't know what the goal is, if you don't know what success looks like to you, you're just going to drift, which is, to me, like the worst conceivable outcome. Like just drifting and saying, man, you know what? I've spent all of 2016 going to work every day, just, I'm getting up at 5 in the morning to go train clients. I'm answering text messages on Saturday from clients. I'm doing all this work, and I am in precisely the same place that I was a year ago. To me, that is the worst conceivable outcome, because you're just reacting. You're basically living a business that, it's not why you started. It's not why you did this. You'd be way better off. I know when AJ talked, he was like, look, you know what? If you're not ready to step up, Be an employee. It's okay. It's safer. It's more secure. But if you drift, that's about as much as you can expect. Or the other scenario is you just borrow somebody else's plan, right? Which to me, it may not be quite as bad, but it's not exciting to me, right? And so what's that look like? Well, you have a franchise where you're basically just following somebody else's rules. You're deploying their business model. You've got a license. That's what those things are. And they're fine, but understand that you're living somebody else's vision of success then. Or you're like, well, wait a minute. This guy that was on stage, I like what he does, so I'm just going to do what he does. The problem is you don't know what they do. You only know the part you get to see, right? So, again, you're kind of being an imitation of somebody else instead of saying, what does success look like to me? If we're like most people in our industry, and probably most people everywhere, but this is the industry that I know, when somebody opens up a facility, they're like, well, what's everybody else's price that's doing group training? Or I've got a CrossFit. What are all the other CrossFits charging? And they're like, well, I need to charge what they charge. Or I need to be a little bit cheaper, right? I mean, how many of you just use somebody else's, in your market, their pricing is a barometer for what you do? So how many of you are lying right now? Because, it's like 80 or 90%. Anytime I get in a room with people, that's what they do, right? Do you know if they know what the hell they're doing? No. Do you know if they're profitable? No. You don't know if they're going to be in business 3 weeks from now. So that's it. We're borrowing other people's expectations. We're borrowing other people's limitations. We're borrowing their version of success, and we're trying to fit ourselves into it. But I would venture to say that you bring something else to the table. You bring your own experiences, your own talents, your own wants and needs and strengths. So you should probably work from that perspective. So decide what matters most to you. Stop worrying about what everybody else does. Decide what matters most to you. For me, very simple. Family kind of trumps all else. And having a business that allows me to enjoy doing it would probably be next. So flexibility is a big deal. So like family, flexibility, being able to coach. I've been a coach for actually longer in my life than I've not been a coach, right? This year, it hit the tipping point where I've been doing the whole coaching thing for 23 years and pre-coach 21 years. So it means I'm getting older, but oh well, right? And then I want to connect. I write a daily email newsletter for those of you who don't get it, and I've done it for every day for 10 years. So I want to connect with people, right? That's it. Those are the things that matter to me most. So I'm going to build my business around that. And guess what? None of that has to apply to you. You get to decide what matters to you. Maybe you don't have a family. Maybe you don't want flexibility. Maybe you really like rigid and, hey, I'm a clockwork type person. And maybe the coaching thing isn't for you. Maybe you'd prefer, hey, I just want to create some products. I want to publish some stuff, get it out the door. Guess what? You make the rules. But you need to decide what matters most to you, and then that's the destination, right? Where we're trying to go, what's important to us, and then we just have to reverse engineer it. So it's just like using the GPS. And it's really simple if we think about it, right? Like we wake up every day and we're like, well, is this moving us a little bit closer to where we're trying to go or not? In truth, is this a lot different than what you do with clients? We do an assessment, right? So we kind of figure out where they are. We ask them what their goals are, hopefully, because, it is about them. And then we design a plan and coach them to the plan to get them from where they are to where they want to be. But how many of you are following that same blueprint for your own business? Seriously, raise your hand. How many of you are actually following that blueprint for your own business? But you know it works because you're doing it with the clients, right? You're good at what you do, so maybe you should follow your own advice, right? That was a quote I heard from a very wise person the other day was, the wisest people are the ones who follow their own advice. Because we're really good at giving advice, but we're not really good at adhering to the things that we teach other people. Well, that's it. We just have to determine how to get where we're trying to go from where we are. So, let's talk about how we craft that plan. Okay? So the first thing that we need to do is we need to design our brand. Really, what your brand is what you want to be known for so that you attract the people that you want to attract and you repel the people that you want to repel. There are plenty of people you don't want to work with, right? How many of you have fired a client? How many of you that have fired that client really regret firing that client? That's what I thought, right? We want to work with who we want to work with. And building a brand is a big piece of that. Because your qualifier to get somebody to do business with you shouldn't be, hey, they've got a pulse and a valid credit card. Right? It should be, wait a minute, they connect with what I do. They connect with my message. I am the unique solution that is best suited to help them get where they're trying to go. So, how do we build a brand? I'm going to give you 5 questions. You answer the 5 questions. You've got the framework for a brand. It is basically the framework for your marketing message. It doesn't matter if it's in an advertisement, a sales page, Facebook ads, anything that you're doing, email sequences. You can answer these 5 questions, and it is kind of the heart and soul of what your brand is. Number 1, who do you work with? Here's a hint. If you think the answer is everybody, you're wrong. Okay? When people tell me they don't have like a niche, or if you're from Canada, niche, it is, first of all, we all have, we have one just, if you have a local business based on geography, right? If you're here in San Francisco, and if you are just working in a local business, well, then I'm probably not your prospective client living in Louisville, Kentucky, if you can tell by my accent. So, who do you work with? So we need to figure that out. And I don't think it gets down to all these little finite details of, hey, it's a woman, 38 to 45, that has a household income of X. And I get it. I like to know more about people, but there are a lot of things about them from a psychographic standpoint, right? Like, it's not just, they're not a number, right? What's important to them? What are their values? What do they want? But think about who you work with and who you want to work with. Because maybe you've got 50 clients right now, and maybe 15 of them are who you truly want to work with. So who are they? Now, if we've narrowed it down to that 15, question number 2. What do they want? Now, this is the one where we tend to get ahead of ourselves, right? Like, we're really eager to tell people what we can do for them, but we probably should pay a little more attention to what they actually want. So, what do they want? Not what do we want to sell them, what do we think they need, what do they want? Because that's what they're going to look for, that's what they're going to respond to. And I'm sure you've probably heard the phrase, sell them what they want, give them what they need, right? So what do those people want? Third, now we get to talk to them about how do we give them what they want. Now, you guys, I'm sure, can really articulate what you do well, right? Like we say, man, we have our programs, and here's why they're awesome, and here's when they are, and here's what tools we use, and here's the assessment we do, and all that stuff. None of it matters until we know what they want. That's why that's question number 2. But if I call up a local gym, or if I walk in a local facility, that's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to tell me all about what they do. It ain't about them. It's about the who. All right, so who, what they want, how we give it to them, what's the result? Ideally, the result is what they want and then some. Maybe they wanted to lose weight. Maybe they wanted to feel better about themselves. Maybe they get that, plus they move better. Maybe they have more energy. Maybe, maybe they have more self-confidence. So what's the success story look like for the person who comes in that's the right fit for your business, that who, what's the result? And then finally, 5th question, this kind of sums it all up. Why should they choose you over all the other options available to them? Because there are other options, right? I mean, very few businesses have kind of a monopoly on their market. But even if you do, the other option is apathy. Do nothing, right? So why should they choose you? If you can answer those 5 questions, that's the foundation of your brand, right? Because that's how we're going to be able to choose the right testimonials to use, the right success stories or case studies, because it's going to be the ones that are appealing to that who, that tell the story they want to go through. That's how we're going to be able to choose the language we use in our advertising, because we help them understand that we can give them what they want. So you answer those 5 questions, we've got a brand. Next, play to your strengths. You don't have to do everything. In fact, the whole concept of I'm going to do everything is stupid. And I don't know an easier way to say it, right? So I talk to fitness professionals all the time, and they're like, well, I want to save some money, and I want to design a website. I'm going to design my website. Great. So if your transmission goes out on your car, you're going to save some money and fix that? Same thing. Same thing. We hire somebody who that's their strength to do other things for us. You spend your time in your zone of genius, or you focus on what AJ would define as a superpower, right? You talk about what Dan Sullivan calls your unique ability. You spend 80% of your time there, you're going to kick everybody's butt. But if you get down in the weeds and you're spending 80% of your time doing all the other stuff, I mean, you're barely going to get by, no matter how good you are. Because none of us are great at everything.
For those of us who are just barely starting and there's really no finances to hire people to do the parts that we're not very good at, what do you recommend for that? Like, for example, I'm terrible with social media. I absolutely hate it, and I'm not good at it, not consistent. But I want an online business.
I would rethink my goals for my business. Like, seriously, I mean, it's the right answer, though, right? Like, I want an online business, except for the online part. But that's it, right? Like we can't have business without clients, right? And that's it. Like AJ was talking about that, and then even before that, Scott was talking about it. I mean, make no mistake, it's a hobby until you actually get paid. And so if you can't get clients, you can't get paid. Now, yeah, you can have somebody else do it, but then we're not being authentic. We're not, like somebody else posting stuff for you, great. I write a daily newsletter. I don't even know my password to log into Infusionsoft. I'm not kidding, right? But I did. I mean, it's since changed, but I did know it, and I sent it out. But there's a difference between you posting something on social media and you building a website, right? I mean, there are things where maybe we might have to do a little bit more, but when we're talking about playing our strengths, notice I said 80%. 80% of your business isn't posting on social media. 80% of your business isn't building a website. 80% of your business probably isn't out of your area of strength if you're doing the right stuff, if you've chosen the right business model, if you're going in the right direction. So when I say play to your strengths, to me, my strengths are coaching, connecting, and connecting could be one-on-one calls, live coaching meetings, it could be writing. It could be I consider business strategy a strength. So either my own business or helping somebody else, kind of connecting the dots, that sort of thing. Those are my strengths. So anything else, if I'm doing it, it's temporary, right? Like I may do it for a little bit, but then my whole goal is to offload it to somebody else that thinks it's a strength. Why? Because they're going to be better at it. No matter how much time I spend doing web design, let's say I said, I'm going to put 40 hours into building this website. Well, the person who's made a career out of it is going to be way better at that. So my job should be, how do I make the money in my area of strength to pay them to work in theirs? That should be our goal, right? And yeah, it's not immediate. It kind of goes along with this ideal business thing. Like you've got to probably be willing to do some things that are not what you want to do in the beginning. Like I've worked plenty of 120-hour weeks. I mean, the day after I got married, my wife and I were both painting the walls in our gym that was about to open. I didn't go on a honeymoon. I mean, I still haven't been on a honeymoon. So yeah, you've got to do some stuff that's outside of your bubble, but that's not, again, that goes back to what's the goal? Where are we trying to go? Well, my goal was not to paint gyms for a living. So as soon as I could offload that. So you got to play to your strengths. So you got to identify what they are and build around them. And then you find somebody else. That's why somebody like Scott has a business, because he's found his strength that complements a lot of people in this room's strength, right? Maybe you're not great at Facebook advertising and you're not going to put all the time into it to keep up with the nuances and the changes and the evolution. But you want clients, and that's what you're best at. So you're like, well, if I can go train a couple extra sessions, I can pay for somebody else to do what they're great at. So if you give him business, tell him I said no. So that's next. Play to your strengths, right? And then we have to put up our guardrails. So this term, how many of you know of precision nutrition? Right? So, of course you do. So I had always said play by your own rules, but I like this better. So PN is a consulting client of mine, and John Berardi is not only a friend, but somebody who I think embodies this whole concept of ideal business. And so for John, his guardrails were, I don't want to work more than 7 hours a day. I don't want to work Fridays because he's got 3 kids and he has another one on the way. I mean, they could have had it today for all I know. I mean, it's that close, right? And so he uses Fridays to spend with the family and kids. And he wanted to build a world-class business without being a world traveler. So he doesn't go around and do a whole lot of speaking. He doesn't do live certifications. Right? So he put up his guardrails, and then he said, you know what? Now I have to think. Now I have to be creative, and I have to solve problems in ways that other people don't solve problems. How do I build the business that I want? By putting up my guardrails and saying, okay, here's the lane, here's what I've got to work with. How do I come up with a creative solution to do it? For me, guardrails, like I don't leave home where I'm gone for more than 2 consecutive full days. So I am going to see my family part of one day, and I may leave that night, but I will not be gone more than 2 consecutive full days. Doesn't happen. Doesn't matter how much you pay me. Doesn't matter what the opportunity is. If it's going to be longer than that, they're coming with me. So, my flight is tomorrow at 6:35 a.m. Right? And that's it. But that's what's important to me. I want to work with people who want to build their ideal business. Somebody comes to me and says, man, I just want sales training. Not your dude. Not happening. When somebody asks me to present and say, hey, can you present on direct response marketing? No, I can't. Because if it's not congruent with getting my message in front of the people that I might want to work with, not going to happen. I had a big industry organization ask me, like, hey, would you come speak on social media? I stink at social media, first of all. But said, will you come speak on social media? I'm like, no, I won't. Because there are other people that's their strength. So I want to work with people who want to build their ideal business. And I want to work in what my definition of flexible is. So I want to work from home. I don't want to be tied to rigid, structured meeting schedules and that sort of thing. Like my previous organization, like holding company that had like 13, 14 companies at any given time in it. I mean, there were points where I would have 12 to 15 hours of scheduled meetings a week before I even got to do the stuff that I like to do. Not doing it. Not going to happen. In fact, the most rigid, structured thing I do now is like baseball practice for my kids. Because I'm not the one I don't own the field, so I have to go when we have access to the field. And it sucks. I hate every minute of that, right? I hate when somebody says, well, this is what time you play on Saturday. I'm like, no, I want to play when I want to play. But that's it, right? Like, you put up your guardrails and you build within them. You say, this is where I'm trying to go. And is it easy? No, it's not. But I'm pretty sure doing things kind of status quo isn't easy either. And this gives you a better outcome. And is it something that you're going to have trouble sticking to because you're going to see this opportunity over there that might pull you off track a little bit, or that one there? It's something I wrestle with every day. There are cool opportunities that get presented to me, and I'm like, well, that'd be fun, and but I would have to go somewhere. I mean, there might be speaking opportunities. It would pull me away longer. But like, let's say it's a speaking opportunity in Australia or something like that. It's like, it's great, but it doesn't fit. And it's a slippery slope, right? As soon as you start compromising that stuff, it's a battle. So when I started my new business, I don't know, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, the first person who came in for private consulting. Now, I didn't want to pull any money out of savings to start this up. I wanted to basically bootstrap it, say, okay, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to build it, and here are my rules. First guy comes in for private consulting, and it's not inexpensive to come do private consulting with me, and he's scheduled, and then my wife comes, and she says, by the way, I want to fly to Philadelphia to support somebody for this charity workout they're going to do. So you're watching the kids. Like, well, this is interesting. How am I going to navigate this? And it was like kind of that decision moment, right? I mean, we had like a babysitter who would come and hang out with my younger son a little bit, like after preschool and everything, but that wasn't going to address both. So it was like, well, I can, just say, look, I'm not going to prioritize my family, and I'm going to find somebody else to take care of all this parental stuff, or I'm going to tell my wife she can't go or whatever else, and because I'm going to rationalize it, because that's what we do, right? We rationalize these things and say, well, I got to do this to get the business off the ground, and I'll start playing by the rules later. I'll start my diet on Monday type thing, right? And so finally I just came down to him like, look, call the guy on the phone, like, here are your options. You can not come, which is fine. You can come and you can sit in my office while I go pick my older son up at school and then take him to the movies to watch whatever the latest Marvel movie was with his friends and drop him off. Or you can ride to school with me and pick him up and go drop him off at the movies and everything else. That's it. Those are the options. These are my rules. He chose option 3. So he got to sit in the car rider line with me for 40 minutes and all this other stuff. And when he got there, he was training about 40 hours a week, just sessions, not counting the management of his business. Within 6 weeks, he was down to 12 hours a week, but his business revenue was up 40%. And he said the most important part of his visit was spending the hour in the car rider line and driving to the movies. He was like, yeah, I just never had the discipline to actually say this is what I'm going to do with my business. And people tell you a lot of stuff, but nobody ever actually showed me. Guardrails, right? So you make yours. And then, third, we just have to make it happen, right? Everybody can talk about, well, this is what I want my business to look like. AJ earlier talked about, well, you know what we do? We dream out in advance when we actually don't want to do the work, right? Well, you have to make it happen. So how do we do that? The first thing is marketing, or really more accurately, marketing and selling. Because marketing is great, but until somebody pays you, your business doesn't change. You can't really help them, right? They're not a client yet. So for me, marketing really boils down to like 3 A's. The first one is attention. We have to get somebody's attention. Now, that's easier if you have a brand that they can connect with. They can say, that person's for me. They stand out, right? But the part that most people forget is you have to maintain their attention. Because if you don't maintain their attention, you're assuming that they're ready just the day that you put your ad up. And that's not the way the world works, right? How many of you, I know people don't read newspapers anymore, but at some point you had a newspaper, right? On Sunday, you had a newspaper sometime in the past, and there'd be like an ad for like a furniture store or a mattress store or something, right? Well, the only time that is ever relevant is when you want to buy a mattress. The rest of the time, you just throw it away, right? So they send them every Sunday so that when you're ready, they buy. Well, in your case, what we need to do is we have to get somebody's attention, and then we have to maintain it until they're ready. That's why I send a daily email. Because I can't decide if you're ready to work with me today, but we can keep going and we'll see if we're the right fit. And then when you're ready, I'm going to be the one that's in front of you. Okay? Makes sense, right? Now, I remember I posted this in one of my, a membership site, and they're like, well, that's not true. Those people are just tire kickers. How many of you have ever said somebody's a tire kicker? Right? So, I mean, it happens all the time. So I pulled up the people that were talking about this tire kicker thing, and I'm like, it's really interesting. You received emails about joining this group minimum 10 times before you ever bought. Does that make you a tire kicker? Does that make you not care about your business, not care about your taking care of your family? Or maybe you just weren't ready. Right? They're just not ready. So we have to maintain their attention. Now, while we're maintaining their attention, we have to build some authority. They have to decide that not only are they ready to buy, but they're ready to buy from us because we are the best solution for their problem. Because that's what we do, right? We solve problems. And then we've got to ask them to take action. We got to say, hey, come in for a success session, or take part in my transformation challenge, or do my 28-day trial program, or whatever. Whatever your next step is, we got to ask them to do it. But that's marketing. Get their attention in the first place and stand out enough that they're willing to, join your email list, opt in for something, walk in the door, but we got to get their attention. We've got to maintain it till they're ready, and then we got to ask them to do something. We have to lead. They're coming to you because they want to be led. If they could figure it out on their own, they didn't need you. Okay? So that's marketing. Anything beyond that, once we get down to like the tactical level, that's where the stuff like Scott was talking about is relevant. This is applicable. Doesn't matter if we're talking about Facebook advertising. Doesn't matter if we're talking about networking. You pick, right? The kind of 3 A's there apply across the board. And then we vote with our time. If you're saying, this is the business I want, this is the life that I want, the way that you spend your time really validates whether or not you're telling the truth. It is often said that you can look at somebody's bank statement and their calendar and decide what's important to them. But, your time decides everything. Like if you say, I want more clients, well, how much of your time each week is spent on attracting new clients? If the answer is like 90 minutes, then you don't want new clients. You'd probably like to have them, but you don't really want it. Right? So how you spend your time is going to decide what's important to you. So I've got this, I'm a owner in a software company. And the guy who was the founder of the software company, so I'm like a minority shareholder, like an advisor. Like the guy who founded it was like, man, part of the reason I came to you is, you talk about family, and family's really important to me and everything else. Yet he would continually be on the phone or texting at his kids' like birthday parties and things like that. Like he couldn't pull himself away. It was always, well, hey, this is my business. I'm doing. No. You're not giving your attention, your time to your family. So don't tell me they're important to you. Anything that is important to you merits your time. Schedule it. Doesn't matter what it is. We talked about this. I had a little group together yesterday. We talked about if it is important to you, it belongs on your schedule. If your workouts for yourself, to be the best version of yourself, are important to you, they probably need to be on your schedule. They don't need to just fall to when time is available, because that time is never consistent, right? Never really is what you want it to be. And if you don't schedule stuff, basically you're reacting, right? You're just basically responding to what other people want. You're valuing what's important to them, not what's important to you. And then finally, your production. So I run this fun little, it's like a transformation challenge for fitness businesses a couple times a year. It's called the Producer Challenge. And people pay a fee, and we guarantee that they're going to sell at least $20,000 in training or increase their EFT by like 20% in 6 weeks. I'm happy to tell you, and there are people in the producer challenge right now, right? And you guys, we're not even 4 weeks in, and you guys are almost, yeah. And you're right on target, right? So there's no magic about this other than the fact that if you want the business, if you want your business to grow, you want your ideal business, it is on you to produce it. It is your responsibility. Nobody else is going to do it for you. If you want a retirement, like if you want to fund a retirement account, it is your responsibility. So all we do in the producer challenge is basically hold people accountable to do the stuff that they already know to do. Yet, over 3 producer challenges, we've had over 94% of the people participating hit the target. The people who actually engaged, 94%. They already knew what to do. They just all of a sudden weren't putting it off till tomorrow or till next week or worrying about answering emails or answering people's phone calls or putting out fires and reacting to other people's needs instead of their own. It's not that those don't matter. It's just, it's your life, it's your business. You get to decide. So you better decide if you're going to make more money, if you're going to have more gross revenue, if you're going to have more clients, if you're going to hire staff and develop them. We hire coaches and we don't groom them up and somehow we expect them to magically be great. You are responsible for producing that. You're responsible for producing the results for your clients, the experience that they have. Really, the business and life you want is on you, which is a good thing. Because I assure you, having worked in a state university, which is like every ounce of bureaucracy anything can be, right? It's like a corporate environment plus the government, right? And no matter how much good intention you have, you don't really get to decide anything. You're reacting to everybody else. It's a pretty crappy way to live. But you took the responsibility to have a business. You get to decide. But by having that responsibility, it's your job to produce the outcome you want. Okay, so, I mean, that's it. That's creating your ideal business. There's nothing mystical or confusing or anything else about it. And, you know, I mean, in the kind of preamble to this, I believe you said that I was good at simplifying things. Well, I mean, let's face it, they didn't bring somebody here from Kentucky for like rocket science, right? But that's it. It's not complicated. You decide where you're trying to go, just like you do for a client. You figure out where you're at, and you craft the simplest possible roadmap to get there, and all of a sudden you're going to wake up and you're going to have the business that you want. You're going to be working with the clients you want. You're going to be making the amount of money that you're probably much happier with. You're going to be able to spend time on the things that are important to you and not just feel like you have a business that owns you, which is the way all too many of us feel and which is kind of where I was on Thanksgiving morning in 2013 that kind of started this whole chain reaction. So, if I can be of help to you in any way, shape, or form, or if you just want to email me and tell me that this is all crap, either way, you can email me at pat@rigsby.com. You can catch up with me on Facebook. That's my Twitter handle? I don't know. I post things there. I don't know the terminology. And then if you are brave enough to tolerate me showing up in your inbox every morning at like 6:30 Eastern, you can find me at patrigsby.com. All right. Thank you.
If you're a personal trainer, odds are good enough isn't good enough. You want to do more, train more, and build your business. But being the best takes work, and it takes a lot more than just delivering a killer workout. You got to think beyond the session, keep your clients inspired, accountable, and focused on results, all while signing up new leads and growing your client base. This stuff is hard to do. It takes a lot of time. And you know what they say, time is money. Off-Day Trainer saves you time and makes you money. Our innovative technology combines text messaging and mobile marketing to reach your clients in real time. With Off-Day Trainer, you'll build your client base. New leads text a keyword to your unique number, fill out a questionnaire, and easily schedule their first session with you. Once they're in, they automatically get session reminders, plus daily inspiration and encouragement based on their unique goals, keeping your clients accountable and focused all week long. You can even keep in touch with former clients, ensure they stay in shape, or let them know that you're ready to help them get back on track, even if they fall behind. Just set up your account and we'll handle the rest. Sign up today to raise the bar and say goodbye to good enough.
Hey guys, Todd Durkin here, Fitness Quest and San Diego, California. First off, shout out to all the folks that are following my dose of Durkin every Monday morning. Shots of motivation and inspiration. And thanks to all my friends over at Off Day Trainer for powering that whole platform. I always talk to fit pros and trainers about more touch points, and mobile technology is allowing us to reach more people and scale the universe. If you're a trainer, you're a fit pro, you always got to find out 3 things for your clients: how to motivate them more, how to hold them accountable, and also to deliver them know-how. So if you're interested in how to do that through mobile technology, check out offdaytrainer.com. Hop over there, check it out, and if that's something that would help your business, go there now. Peace, we out.